as it's happening. All right. This morning, there was a lot of bustle, of course, because we know that it is a shopping day. Of course, an extended shopping day. And in addition to that, we have financial institutions that will be opening from 9 to 1 today as well to facilitate financial emergencies for the general population. So we hope that those of you who need to take advantage of it do so. And of course, we are appealing to people, if you do not have an emergency, whether it be a food emergency or a financial emergency, that you try your very best to stay at home. The curfew has not been lifted, and I must repeat that. The curfew has not been lifted, which means that it is important. And I want to reiterate, it is important for us to stick to the curfew. If you do not have a food emergency, if you do not need to leave your house, we are asking that you stay at home. Keep in your mind the people who are in absolute need to go to the banks, and an absolute need to go to the different supermarkets and grocery stores to facilitate their food emergencies. And with you being there, and there isn't a necessity for you to be there, you are hindering those persons from actually attending to those needs. So we are begging, we are asking, we are pleading with the general public. If you do not have a food emergency, if it is not absolutely necessary for you to leave your home, the curfew is still in effect. You are to remain in your homes. I passed by the National Stadium this morning, and to my dismay, I must say that there was only one vendor set up, and they had a nice set up tents and tables and so on, readily available for the vendors. And I would really like to hear from the vendors what exactly is hindering or what is restricting them from actually setting up shop at the National Stadium. It will be interesting to know what their reasons are, what the hindrances are, because of course we will not know how to facilitate a problem, how to fix a problem, if we don't know what the problem is, if it's not being conveyed or reported to or through the right sources. And I keep telling people, going on social media and ranting about something, yes, it may get seen at some point in time, but if you channel it through the right sources, there's a possibility that it can be resolved in a quicker manner. So we'd like to know exactly what it is that is hindering the farmers from actually going and using the facilities that have been provided for them to vend. I'd like to also know from, if possible, the other parishes, if they are having successful vending days for the farmers as well, if the farmers are utilizing the provisions made for them to vend, and how successful that has been. So it's definitely, today will be a telling tale, because remember, this is a new situation. This has been just been imposed. So we want to make sure that we can work on all of the glitches today, so that tomorrow or any other day that they do have an opportunity to vend, that it is done rather smoothly. All right. So if you do have an opportunity, whether it's to send a message through the live video, I'm not sure if we're going to be able to take calls today, because of course, calling in this morning, I have the Minister of Trade, the Honorable Minister Oliver Joseph, and of course the Minister for Social. I'm sorry. It just slipped me. The Honorable Minister Delma Thomas would be calling in as well, following the Minister Joseph. So we do have a packed morning again this morning, trying to get as much information to the people as possible. I know a lot of people are consumed with what's happening as it relates to COVID-19, but we really, really do have to try our best. Really have to try our best to make this situation work. It's not a perfect situation. It's probably never going to be a perfect situation. But as much as it is possible, we have to try our best to make it work. Not because it doesn't work the first time means that it has failed. Maybe it needs a little tweaking in this area and a little tweaking in that area, but it doesn't mean that it was a bad decision or that it has failed. So we definitely do need to do our best to cooperate with the authorities to make these things run smoothly. I do hear that there has been complaints already. There has already been complaints from the police that people are not adhering to the social distancing protocols, meaning that you can't cram up in the line. I mean, this is not something that people have to hold over your head. Police does not need to stand with a stick or a baton and police you and tell you that you need to stand 6 feet away. This is something that you need to do on your own. It is for your own good. It is a safety measure. I don't know why we are making, or some of us are making this thing so difficult when it does not have to be so difficult. So let us try our best to adhere to the policy. Let's keep up with the social distancing protocol, whether you're in the line at the supermarket, whether you're in the line at the bank, or you're going to the teller, or you're going to the market to vent, or you're going to the market to buy. Let us try our best to keep up with the policies, because at the end of the day, these days that are being allotted to us these days that are being allotted to us to shop or to vend, it's a testing time. Remember, we are still not in the clear. We may be ahead of the curve. It may be an opportunity for us to really see if we can relax our measures just a bit. But we are the ones that are in control of that. If we don't adhere to the policies, if we don't do what we are supposed to do, then how can government take a decision to relax the policies when the people themselves are not showing that they are capable to adhere to social distancing rules? So this is a testing time for us, and we must pass this test. Because at the end of the day, every decision that is made is being made for the betterment. I'm seeing a comment here. I'm a market vendor. She's saying that she has lovely mangoes, pawpaw, chive, thyme, and cabbages. But she is unable to get transportation to get to the stadium. So transportation seems to be one of the issues. Now, I do have a call coming in, and I know exactly who this caller is. We have on the line our Minister of Trade, Minister the Honorable Oliver Joseph. Good morning, Minister. How are you?
Hey, good morning. I'm doing well, and I hope you two are doing well.
Yes, I'm doing fine. I'm doing fine.
Yes, I'm calling in. First of all, I want to take the opportunity to reach out to the constituents of St. David's.
Wonderful.
As you know, we all in this thing together. I've been getting a lot of calls and trying to respond as best as I can. But I find the people of St. David's to be very understanding.
That's good
and
news.
That's a good thing, because they are cooperating fully. I passed through the day where the supermarkets were open, and 100% of the people in line had masks on.
Wow.
I was so pleased about that. Even in going out in the constituency, people were wearing masks on the road. And I'm pleased to see the way they are cooperating. Of course, you know, we are all concerned about the spread of the virus. It is something that we never planned for, because the first time we have to deal with it.
Yeah.
You see, when you have to deal with a situation for the first time, whether you are in politics or you're the head of a household or whatever group, it's difficult, and there will be some trial and errors as well.
Yes, absolutely.
And so you will hear a lot of criticism, maybe from some sectors, and everybody have ideas of how to deal with it.
Of course.
How to open up and things. And so I listen to everybody's views, and there is a committee in place, and I want to congratulate the committee for a very good job. I think they are doing an excellent job in ensuring that we are safe, well protected,
Mm-hmm.
The government has responded in a very positive way. As you may note, on Friday, that's tomorrow, we're going to Parliament with
Okay.
a package of incentives to
Okay.
assist our people. So it's a trying time for everyone. And I just want to say good morning to all the other MPs who are working so hard at this time. I know it's a very difficult time, but I know they're all reaching out to their constituents in trying to bring some form of relief.
Right.
Let me make this further point that even though you don't see us posting it up on Facebook, because for one, I don't believe that I should post up on Facebook where I'm handing out food parcels to an elderly person.
Right.
They
Right.
they have the pride. They are human beings. They have their dignity,
Yes.
and I don't think I should be posting it up on Facebook.
But I mean, generally, Minister, if you are doing something out of the goodness of your heart, knowing that somebody is in need, I don't think any of that, if it's charitable work, should not be made public on social media. Of course,
Yeah,
it
well,
can be
yeah,
spoken about, yes, but not made a public spectacle.
well, some people think they have to do that to show that they are doing something. Well, once the beneficiaries, the people we are helping, they are satisfied
Absolutely.
with our assistance, I am not too worried about putting it up for the rest of the world to see. I would never do that.
Of course.
And so we have been doing a lot, even during the days that the shutdown and people call in. The shops have been very cooperative. The police extremely cooperative, and I want to also congratulate the police for doing an excellent job
Yes.
as frontline workers, and all the other medical workers who are doing a great job. Luckily for us in Grenada, we have no reported deaths from the COVID-19, but in New York, we have a lot of Grenadians who suffered, who died
Yeah.
as a result. I want to extend my deep sympathy to the family, all family, friends of all those Grenadians who died in the diaspora. I know 4 persons who died personally,
Wow.
Yes, one good friend of mine, Mr. Francis Gilbert, and he only went to New York about 2 months ago.
Whoa.
Yeah, and he had big plans, so when he come back, so what we going to do?
It's a
And
very.
he passed,
It's,
and it's very sad, and it's a trying time for the relatives and friends in Grenada who would not see their loved ones again
yeah.
because the body cannot come,
Yeah.
and they cannot go to attend the funeral.
Yeah. It is.
So it's a really tough time. But as a Christian nation, I know our people have a great faith in God and trust in God, and they are praying people. And together, I think we will overcome. We will overcome this situation. We have overcome several situations in the past. Of course, none could compare to this one. When you hear about curfew, you think in some military, some revolution taking
Yeah.
place. Now, because of a virus, we are asked to stay inside. And as I said, that is something none of us had focus that we will have to deal with in our lifetime. But I'm pleased with the response of all Grenadians, and I want to say to the people of St. David's to hold on, hold strong. We will overcome that.
All right.
Together.
Now, Minister, I do want to speak with you, of course, in your capacity as Minister of Trade as well, because, of course, we know that this virus has or is affecting many dimensions of our society and also of our economy as well. I know that people are concerned, and it probably is what is fueling so many people going out on every shopping day or every other shopping day and buying groceries. People are wondering, well, what is going to happen to our trade sector? Will there come a time when we will not have access to the goods that we need in order to survive? And what is government's plan to deal with something like that? I know a lot of people are wondering that. Can you comment on that at all?
All right, before I come in, let me make an announcement that the farmers market in St. David's is located right in La Sagesse. There, the Natural Works.
Okay.
Everybody will know it as Natural Works.
Oh,
Farmers market open today tomorrow and Saturday. So while you're shopping, it's important that you get your fruits and vegetables, and therefore farmers are there selling fruits and vegetables. And take the opportunity to get your fruits and vegetables while you shop.
Okay.
Right. So coming to the substantive question of trade, as you are aware, the airport has been closed, and therefore that will affect trade, obviously. There were some containers that came in with foodstuff that the distributors, the importers were allowed to clear and stock up shops. So at the moment, there is adequate supply of food on island at the moment, as we speak. As to how soon we will reopen, I cannot say. There is a committee that is monitoring all aspects, and they, in due course, will make a statement and the opening up of trade and the airports and seaports with the rest of the world. It is important that we have these closed airports because, as you are aware, the cases we had were all imported.
Yes.
And therefore, we must take precautionary measures. A lot of testing has been done now because, as you know, we have the capability to do our own tests.
Right.
So a lot of people have been tested now, and we're getting the results very quick. And that's a good sign, that's a good thing. And the committee will keep monitoring it. In terms of the impact, well, Grenada is a net importing food country. The government revenue comes mainly from international trade and taxes at the border. In fact, approximately 50% of all government recurrent revenue, that is revenue that we collect to meet recurrent expenditure, pay salary, wages, pension, goods, supplies, recurrent, because every year you have to every month you must meet it. So almost 50% of this revenue comes from the port,
Right.
the taxes that we charge on imports. And the major part of our revenue come from domestic taxes, inland revenue taxes. And therefore, with the reduction in trade, we'll see a massive impact on government's revenue because we're not collecting the amount of revenue we'll normally collect at the port, and it also locally, because VAT is a major source of revenue for the government, and VAT is a transaction tax. So when you go and shop, when business is being conducted, government collect VAT. Because you don't have that amount of activities taking place, there will be a huge drop in VAT collection.
Right.
And so the revenue implication is huge for Grenada. As you know, the last 6 years in office, the economy was growing at a steady rate.
Right.
We would not see that growth in GDP this year, of course, because of all that I explained before. Reduction in economic activities with the hotels closed. SGU, let me give you one, for example, SGU. So George's University alone contributed 25% to our GDP.
Wow.
25%. With the university closed, you see the big impact right away on GDP. So because Grenada has managed its finances in a very prudent way over the years, you will recall we passed the Fiscal Responsibility Act that brought discipline to the way we manage our finances. It is this Fiscal Responsibility Act now that is working in our favor, that the government can announce it will be able to pay its workers for the next 3 months.
That's
Because
excellent.
we have managed the economy in a very prudent way. And because of this management also, the IMF and World Bank will provide resources to assist Grenada.
Okay.
Because they have commended Grenada over the years for sticking to the Fiscal Responsibility Act, for meeting all the targets that we have set ourselves. And because of the way we have managed the economy, the IMF and World Bank will support Grenada during this period of during this crisis.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, Minister, because this morning, while I was getting ready to come here, I received a message, a WhatsApp message that was going around, and I got it in a few of the groups or that I'm in on WhatsApp, and I did see it also posted on a very active, I can't say opposition force anymore, but one of the other political party, one of the activists would have posted it as well, with claims that the IMF is saying that that Grenada is in a critical state as it relates to its economy, and I'm glad that you would have clarified that that is not the case as yet.
No, they misread what the IMF is saying. Well, I don't know the details because I don't like to comment on WhatsApp.
Right.
The Prime Minister was at a meeting by, as you know, all the meetings were held by virtual means.
Right.
And he will report to the nation, and we have a Parliament session tomorrow, and he will give the details
Right.
of it. Not every, what I can say, without having the details of the meeting, as I said, the Prime Minister will deal with it. Not every country will benefit in the same way, not as Grenada. Not every CARICOM country
Right.
will benefit as Grenada would, because they are looking at your performance over the last 5 years.
Right.
So that is clear. The details, as I said, will be pronounced by the Minister of Finance. But I know that the World Bank and the IMF have always been showing up Grenada as a model country to small island states in terms of how to get your economy growing, how to reduce your debt to GDP ratio. I have been to meetings where I've met ministers from other countries who say they will have fiscal responsibility as a policy, but not as a law. They do not want to go to Parliament and pass an act, because if you can't just break an act of Parliament.
Right.
So they're saying, when we just passed it, I remember they asking me why we went to Parliament and passed it as an act of Parliament instead of just having it as a fiscal policy. I said, well, if you go to Parliament, then we must obey the laws that we pass.
Of course.
So you remember when negotiations were on and we talk about the fiscal space and we cannot spend more than 2% in any year on primary expenditure, and some people were saying, well, you pass the law, you could go in Parliament and change the law.
Yeah.
No, if we acted irresponsible, went to Parliament, changed the law, and then start spending, we'd have no money in the contingency funds now.
Exactly.
It's because we have money in the contingency fund that is helping us to do what we are doing now.
Right. And I mean, this is definitely a great show of leadership, because it goes to show that all of the hard decisions, all of the plans that were being put in place were not as a result, or not meant to cripple anybody's finances, but also to prepare the country for something like this, where we actually do need the contingency fund, and where the measures that we have put in place as a government really has benefited us greatly.
Yes, of course. You see, in any organization that you're in, leadership is extremely critical, you know. See, when you have somebody, you have a visionary leadership and someone who understands how the economy performs and the need to stay on course and not to get back to the situation that we were in before, where the debt to GDP ratio was over 100%, and we brought it down to under 60, and we're able to manage the economy and give increases at the same time, and provide for the young people with all the different programs that we're able to do, and the economy growing. That is the kind of leadership you need. That is with a united team working together. When you have a united team working together with a common purpose, you could achieve a lot and quite frankly, when I see the results of the Fiscal Responsibility Act and what we have been able to achieve, I am extremely pleased with our progress. And today, we are seeing that we've made the right decision, and therefore we can now help provide assistance to the needy people, to all the sectors, because you have a lot of sectors in Grenada that have been affected. You know. And it's simple. Okay, for example, the buses, they all packed up, and they have their loans to pay, and they are not making no income.
Right.
The tourist ship is not coming into the vendors, the tourist vendors, they are not making any money. The market is closed, so the market vendors not making it. It is a wide cross-section of the population that are affected.
Well, Minister, I want to delve into that just a little bit more details into that. Now, we have the stimulus package that is available, and I know that Parliament is tomorrow, so most likely more details on the stimulus package will be given. But just as a broad broad topic, I want us to just talk about the people that will be affected in the long term. So, for example, we know that the busmen, they are affected now because we are under quarantine, people are not moving as usual, and so on. And there are certain restrictions in place, and they are not affected now. Now, at some point in time, we as a nation within ourselves will be able to go back to some form of normalcy, right? The borders may still be closed, which then means that the long-term effects for hoteliers and people that work within the tourism sectors, and we're speaking about the custodians in the hotel, we're talking about janitors, we're talking about people who work in hospitality. These people will have long-term effects, right? And I'm not sure if you're able to comment on it, but will the stimulus package be able to sustain them in the long term? Because we're looking at a 3-month period, yes. But of course, we know that even after this 3-month period has expired, people within Grenada may be able to move around as normal. But people who depend on international trade and international business in order to sustain themselves, will the stimulus package be able to hold them through until we see some light at the end of this long tunnel?
All right. So first of all, as you pointed out, this stimulus package is for 3 months, April, May, and June. After the 3 months, we will review. We give us a status update. We'll see where the economy is, what more needs to be done. But I agree with the short-term measure now to deal with the impact now for 3 months. We don't know down the road what sort of support the government can give beyond that. That will be assessed and a determination made. As I mentioned in the beginning of our conversation, government revenues are severely impacted.
Right.
So you have a situation where your revenue is seriously impacted, but your needs are so high.
Right.
The demand for assistance, you see? And so we have to see what it is that the international community will make available to Grenada,
right? And
what kind of package they will offer, how much, whether we'll get grant and how much grant, or would it be soft loan? Okay, if it's a soft loan, it will affect the debt to GDP ratio, and you have to think about the country will have in the have to pay it back, and therefore all these measures that are put in place now at the end of 3 months. Will be reviewed, and at the end of before the end of the 3 months, it will be reviewed, and the government will make a further announcement. But as it stands now, I cannot speak to beyond 3 months.
Right.
I just want to say that the 50 million EC dollar stimulus package that the government has put out.
Okay.
And tomorrow in Parliament, we'll give the breakdown of how it's going to be allocated. But as a first response, $50 million has been allocated to assist the sectors that have been affected.
Okay.
So that's what I want to see on that at the moment.
Okay. Well, we know that it's going to be a very rough year. The governor of the ECCB made a statement that indicated that the region, not just Grenada, but the region, will be experiencing negative growth. Do you want to explain that a little bit more for our listeners?
Yeah, sure. Yes. So what is GDP? Is the gross domestic product. So everything that is produced in the local economy. So gross, everything domestic, and the word domestic, locally, so everything locally, gross domestic product, so everything that's produced. Now, all hotels closed. St. George's University that contributed 25% closed. Manufacturing sector, operating on a limited scale. So the main drivers in the economy that will lead to the growth that we witnessed in the past year, all will show decline, and therefore the likelihood is that you would not have growth, overall growth in the GDP, but instead you will have a decline. Well, in economics you say negative growth. I don't like to use that term because people get confused when you say negative growth.
Right.
And they say, well, if you're using the word growth, or you could say negative.
Negative, right.
But that's how it is explained in economics as negative growth. So you will see a decline, a real decline in GDP throughout the Caribbean, Latin America. And the World Bank, of course, and IMF has their own projection of how much it will be declined. Different models, and the models you develop depending on the assumptions you make.
Right.
So different models will predict different scenarios as respect to how much the decline will be. I think it's early stage still, because if the recovery really kick back, say after June, so we're April, May, and June with the decline, and we could start, say, from the 1st of July, opening up the full economy now, right? So the total effect in the decline would be different from with respect to the growth. However, if after the 3 months we still have to leave some places closed,
right?
You see, so as I said, the modeling you do will depend on how much you think. But he's accurate. He's correct. Well, you don't have to be an economist to know that there would not be the growth if these places are closed.
Right.
As I mentioned, all the hotels closed, the SGU closed, the manufacturing sector limited, and so on. You must know, just from your own analysis, that there will be a decline in the economy. But so that's for the GDP. Of course, there will be a decline, as I mentioned earlier, in government revenues. So again, it will require strong leadership,
right,
to come up with policies that can see start back in the economy. You will have to put policies in place and give support to sectors,
right,
in order to have them start producing and getting back up and feet again.
right.
It's my hope that after the 3 months, everything will be, we will be able, the scientists are looking at it and making their own predictions.
Right.
About the science of it and how soon it should be open. You know, there's a big debate in America between the president and the governors.
Yes, when they should
How
reopen.
soon they should open back the economy.
Yes.
Because you have the science on one side, and you have the politicians and the economists and things who are looking at it in a different context. Our first priority in Grenada, as the Prime Minister says, is to save lives.
Of course.
We're going to lose money, but we survive. But we do not want to lose a single life. So the first and foremost, the measures and everything we do is to ensure that we protect lives. And that has to be the overriding consideration of any caring government, that protection of life must take precedence and must be first. So the governor have also made some announcements. He made that the 6.5% interest rate is the rate that the central bank will lend to governments, and if commercial banks want loan, the normal rate would be 6.5%. Now, this ECCB, the governor has announced they will drop this rate to 2%
Wow.
for countries and to commercial banks because commercial bank can go to the central bank for loan. As I said, that would have been 6.5. As that, let me explain because two persons called me to ask me this question. They said that now that the central bank is offering interest rates at 2% to commercial banks, would we see commercial bank rate drop significantly? Well, that's a good question. The answer is the commercial banks, first of all, may not go to the ECCB for loan, even at 2%, because they are very liquid. Depositors' money is what commercial banks use to give loans. So you deposit your money there, you probably get a 0.5 or 1% now, because interest is a way of attracting capital and savings. So if the bank have a high interest rate, it will attract people to save. When they drop the interest rate to 1% or 0.5%, it's because they are so liquid, they don't need your money. So they don't need to attract you to come there. So if they have depositors' money, which they are lending, paying you 1%, but lending it at 10%, 9%, 10%, and mortgage now is down to 6%. They may not use the 2% loan from the ECCB, so you may not see any significant drop in the interest rate, even if the ECCB is offering the money. For government, yes, we will take advantage of it because 2% is, for government is an interest rate that we consider concessionary enough. And if instead of getting it at 6.5, you could get it at 2 as government. But it is a loan still. Remember, that's not a grant to the government. It's a loan at 2%. Right. So when government take that loan, it will, if government, it depends on how much government take from use or take up as a loan, then it will add to the debt to GDP ratio. So the question of whether we'll see bank rates dropping immediately because of that, the answer is no, not in the short run. And if the banks are taking the 2% from the central bank, they probably take it for a specific portfolio. They will say, okay, we're going to take it at 2% to lend to small businesses and charge them a 5% or so on that because we got it at 2%. But in my analysis, because they are so liquid, the banks are so liquid in Grenada, I don't see commercial banks going to the central bank to get money in order to lend. So that is the explanation from the two persons who are called to find out. Of course, that was a genuine question because if you announce that commercial banks could get 2% interest, you will think, well, good. Instead of paying 10% on a motor vehicle loan, I could get it for 5%. So that is that's one of the measures that was announced by the ECCB. And there are other monetary policies because we do not have our own central bank, so we do not control monetary policy. So it is the central bank that controls monetary policy. Monetary policy now has to do with interest rates and reserve requirements that the commercial banks must hold and so on. Government in the ECCU have control over fiscal policies. That's why anytime you hear the word fiscal policies, we're talking about taxation.
Right.
So that is why this government could announce the temporary relief of taxes and so on, because that is within the control. These are fiscal measures. So when you talk about the Fiscal Responsibility Act, you will not see there any monetary policy in it because we do not control monetary policy and we cannot print money. So funny enough, people are asking me, well, the U.S. government will put out $2 trillion. So why can't we ask the central bank to print money. I don't want to go into a lecture of why we cannot do that, except to say that the ECCB, in printing money, print EC dollars. The US print US dollars. When you have EC dollar and you have to trade, you have to trade in US dollars. And therefore, we'll have to convert that EC dollar into US dollar. And that could have serious implications down the road, which I wouldn't want to go into now. But we cannot print money. That is the long and short of it. We're not in a position to print money.
Right. Well, Minister, I want to make a comparison, of course, because we are headed into a similar scenario as we were in, I wouldn't say similar, but close enough to what we were in 2008, where the economy was, of course, experiencing negative growth, and the measures were put in place to help us get back on track. And of course, those measures proved to be very successful, very profitable for the Grenadian economy. Do you see us going or taking any of those measures? We may not have to take them all over again. And as you said, if after the 3-month period we see that internationally we can go back to some sense of normalcy, that the negative growth may not be that bad. But do you see us going back into some of those policies that we would have had to visit in 2013?
Well, as I mentioned, there will be a complete review of all the policies that we implemented that was in place before. As I said again, the incentive package, the stimulus, is for 3 months. Well, after that, a complete review will be done. One thing I could tell you, we will continue to have fiscal discipline because it has served us well, and we continue to manage the economy as we have done over the last 5 years to ensure that we return to economic growth and at the same time provide for our citizens, because the goal of government is to improve the standard of living of its people. And so in all sectors, we look at what needs to be done and take the correct measures, put the correct measures in place. Because it's a balancing act, you have, this period is a challenging one.
It is.
So it requires some leadership during this time. But as I said, we have overcome several crises in the past, and I'm sure we will overcome this one successfully, come out of it, return to economic growth and stability, and the country will back on its the path of growth in the not too distant future.
All right, wonderful. Well, Minister, it's an absolute pleasure to hear from you and to, of course, have people know what's going on, get a better idea of what is to come, because I think the conversation of the economy and the effects of the coronavirus on the economy, especially for some sectors, need to start happening, and people need to start putting measures and having conversations about what their business plan is going to be if this were to become a reality. Because, I mean, we are still in the early stages. The 3-month period has not expired as yet. So there is still a strong possibility that things can bounce back and we're not really so badly affected. But at the same time, I think businesses and private sector individuals and entrepreneurs need to start having the conversations and finding out what their options are, so that in the event we do have to take stringent measures to bounce back or to get the economy started again, what their options are and what they need to do to sustain their business.
Well, okay. Now, remember, we are interconnected and interdependent. We depend heavily on trade, trade, tourism. Now, even if Grenada opens its border, the other countries that the tourists come from, the people, they may not be prepared to travel at any time soon. So, and their economy is affected seriously. So, even if you open, we do not sure how soon we will see cruise ship coming back, whether people will be in any hurry to go on a cruise after that, or people will prepare to go on vacation. We don't know, because this thing is international.
Yeah.
And that is one of the variables that we must put into the equation. It's not just Grenada and it's old city opening up. Yeah, well, you open up, but who will come?
Yeah.
Because the main source market for tourism, you don't know how soon they will start coming back. Because you don't know how soon we'll start receiving all our supplies that we depend on, because production is down in a lot of countries. So it's not only dependent on the measures that we take, but we have to understand the international context as well as when we continue to plan going forward.
All right. Now, do you have any remarks that you'd like to give to your constituents? I know a lot of people are waiting to hear from you as it relates to measures. I know a lot of the constituencies have been delivering food baskets to their most needy.
Yes, well, first of all, I'm happy that the decision has been taken to allow farmers to ply the trade. And as I mentioned, we have a farmers market that will be operating Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. That's a good decision. All the farmers in St. David can come out and sell their produce to the public. For the shut-ins, the people on the seed program, their money will be delivered to them by the seed officers. Minister Thomas will give more details on that.
Right.
For the other shut-ins, we have a team of people going out to visit them and delivering supplies to them. Of course, we cannot give everyone, but we know the most vulnerable. The seed. We have a list. The seed officers. We have a database with all the needy people, and we are sending to them first. And as we get more supplies, and I must say that some of the people in St. David's who can help, they have been responding very well, calling and finding out in what way they can help. So I just want to say to the constituents of St. David, thank you for your support and for your understanding, and we will continue to do what we can. And finally, let me end, because I've heard that I didn't hear the call myself, but somebody say accusing us of just helping our supporters. Well, the list we have, I don't know who they support.
Exactly.
So I don't know what. That's something in politics here all the time. So I don't pay too much attention to it. But we have a list that of needy people,
right.
not people who support the new National Party, because I don't know that that's the list. We have a list of all the vulnerable and all the needy people, and these are the people that we are reaching out to, and we will continue to reach out to people based on their needs.
Wonderful.
So thank you very much for having me on your program. It's a real privilege. I know other ministers is probably trying to get to you, because they're all working very hard. Every day, Minister Darbrieux making representation for the fishermen. What happened to the fishermen and those who have to clean the fish and those who have to sell the fish, and always lobbying for the fisher folks in St. John's, because you know that's the fishing capital. Go on.
Yes, yes.
And all, Minister Thomas, again, the lady with such a big heart, so concerned about the elderly and the vulnerable people in Grenada, not only in her constituency, in Grenada. And I want to use that opportunity to thank her for the support that she extended. The seed officers in my constituency did not have a pass. When I called them to go out with me to deliver the groceries, they said they did not have a pass. I immediately called her, and within half an hour, the police sent the pass to me to give to the seed officers.
Wow.
Yes, very, very quick.
Efficiency,
Because
efficiency.
she's so concerned about the elderly, and we're reaching out to them. So I want to use this occasion to thank her very much and to encourage her to keep up the good work that she's doing in the Ministry of Social Development and Housing. And may God continue to guide all our ministers and all our people. And the people of St. Davis are very prayerful people, you know. We have the most church per capita in the whole island. In St. Davis.
Minister, before you go, just one question here. There's a gentleman on the live that's saying he's having a problem with the prices that are increasing on goods. I know that initially when there was the issue of price gouging, a line was set up in the ministry to deal with something like that, to make reports on things like that. Is that still available?
Right. So, well, I'm glad you raised that, you know, because I've got a lot of calls, surprisingly, on sugar. Basic things. Somebody sent me the price they paid for a pound of sugar. I couldn't believe that.
Wow.
Yes. Well, there is, yes, the price control, but remember, only basic things are on the price control list. And recently the government took a decision to add hand sanitizers and soap and so on. But sugar is a price control item. Flour is a price control item. Rice, milk, these are price control items. There is still the line. I'm not sure if you have officers in the ministry that could take the call and go out. But yes, I've heard that, and I'll call and I plan to follow up. In fact, today I will call the head of the department to find out what arrangements are in place so that the officers could respond to this price hike that people are reporting. But yes, I did receive reports of price gouging, and I will follow up today to find out if any measures, if the officers would be allowed to go and deal with this issue. But I appeal to the business people. These are the same people that support you throughout the year, you know.
Yes.
Throughout the years. These are your customers. These people you see every day. You will need them after this crisis. So why try to exploit the situation now?
Yes.
You know, everybody is feeling it. You know, it's difficult for everyone. So let us be considerate and treat the people, because you will need them after this COVID-19 is over.
Of course. Well, thank you so much, Minister, for your time. I know that you are a very busy person, especially in this time. So you do have a wonderful day, and we hope to hear from you again soon.
Thank you very much, and keep safe.
You too.
Okay.
And that was the call from our Honorable Minister of Trade, the Honorable Oliver Joseph. And directly after, right on the line, we have our Honorable Minister for Social Development and Housing, Minister Delma Thomas. Good morning, Minister.
Hi, good morning to you, and good morning to all the listeners of HARDTALK.
All right. Well, it is a pleasure hearing from you. We know that you are busy in this time with so much going on and so many people in need. So we're very grateful that you could take the time to speak with us this morning.
It is also a pleasure to be with you this morning. It's a pleasure to speak to the population of Grenada, and it's also a pleasure to reach out to the people of St. Andrews Northwest in these trying times.
Of course. Now, I know you'd want to address your constituency first, and of course give them some comforting words in this time and let them know what is happening in the area. So I'm going to leave you to do that.
Well, I will want to address the constituency. However, I think at this time one of the important things that I would want to speak about is the issue of seed and seed payment first, and then I will... So let me deal with issues of the ministry first, and then I will deal with issue. Then I will address my constituency after.
Okay. Now I know seed payments are being made very early. Do you want to shed some more light on how this is being done and how persons who are on the program can access that? Okay.
So what we sought to do is first, as you said, pay earlier. So normally it's the last Thursday. However, we decided to start earlier, so we were starting next week, Tuesday, at the level of the community. So it's constituency, but at the level of the community. So all the constituency would not have to come in one space. But because of the whole issue of social distancing, we want to ensure that that is observed in every area, and that is why we are ensuring that it is happening at the level of communities. So there will be a list of areas within the different communities across Grenada that will be circulated later on today, early tomorrow, please God. And it will also, the city officers and the community persons will be able to tell people in the different constituency where they are to collect their benefits. We first will be dealing with the elderly. Well, the shut-ins will make sure that they get it at their homes. However, in many cases, the elderlies have agents that collect on their behalf, so the agents will be able to continue collecting the benefits for the elderly in some instances. And as I said, the shut-ins, they will be doing the house-to-house distribution for them.
Okay. Now, I know this is an important question to a lot of people. There have been persons who would have or who are eligible to receive seed payments, who probably would have made an application or were in the process of making an application to receive these payments before all of this happened. Are measures being put in place, or have measures been put in place to still assist these people? Because there may be shut-ins who have not, or who are not on the seed program, but do need assistance and do need to be on the program. Are measures being put in place to address this?
Yes, so there are persons who did the proxy means testing before, passed and waiting to get on. These are names that we will be looking at in the next month or two. For this month, we have not add any new person to the program, and that is why in cases where we have people falling through the track, we have assistance that on the level of the different constituency that can be given to persons who may need a little assistance because there's no one in the household working and they're not on seed, and therefore we can look at those because we have the hotline in the ministry and we have a number of persons calling. In fact, so far we have over 200 calls from concerned people, from people themselves inquiring on how can we help. And so we are working along with that. And in the next month or two, we will let you know and let the public and let the family know who are the new beneficiaries coming on the program. We are also looking at some other assistance that I would not want to give detail yet since it's not finalized. It's something that we are discussing with the OECS at this time, and therefore I would like to leave it there for now.
Okay.
But we'll look at ways and means on how we can help affected families who lost their jobs, and we know that government already have a program, but there are some persons who were not captured in the first rounds of incentive, and so we are continuing to look at ways and means in which we can assist.
Okay, so the persons who have not yet applied, they were in the process, they can still go ahead and put in an application. Not necessarily saying that they would get through right away, but their application can still be submitted.
Yeah, yeah, but you see, the seed officers are no longer going out in the community because of the curfew. So in the last couple of weeks, we could not have done new application. So after that is the seed officers will let people in the different community know when we resume doing application. But as I said earlier, we have a number of applications, a number of persons passing the PMT, because applying doesn't mean you're getting through.
Right.
There's a proxy means testing that will enable people to pass or not pass and then get on after you pass. So that we will be working on, and we'll let the people would know when they get on to the program.
Okay. Now, I believe it is your ministry that's responsible for this as well. There are shut-ins or people who basically live alone that would usually need the assistance of somebody else to get by on a daily basis. And I know the ministry usually provides an individual to go in and help them, whether it's with cooking or cleaning or whatever needs they may have. Is that still in effect, or how?
Oh, yes, it is still in effect. In fact, we have notified the police, and we got passes for the caregivers, so they are continuing to take care of families. However, in cases where you may be a high-risk household or so, we will look at alternative in terms of dealing with that. Well, that was in the past, though. So we had, for instance, one case where we were concerned and measures were taken to ensure that we protect the persons who are working out there. But we'll continue to provide assistance for the shut-ins, continue working with them. In fact, we also have a hotline that people will call if they realize that there's an elderly family living alone or they have concern in terms of food or so. They also call the ministry, and so we are working along with all those issues that confront us on a daily basis. We also, in terms of protecting children, there also a hotline, because, in these times we still have to think about abuse of children, abuse of elderly, and abuse of gender-based violence. So, you cannot get, while there are two different issues as it relates to coronavirus and domestic violence, we still cannot lose sight that there will be abuse, and therefore, as a government, we have to be committed to protecting the most vulnerable across our tri-island state of Grenada, Carriacou, and PD Martinique.
Of course, and we had Dr. Panchu yesterday online with us, and he gave us some insight on some of the measures that your ministry is taking in order to ensure that you keep in contact with your some of the cases that you know of. As it relates to abuse, and of course as it relates to people who need therapy and psychiatry and so on, and that there are measures in place. What he also highlighted, which is something that was new to a lot of us, was that there is a 24-hour hotline that can be utilized by these people in the event that they need to do so.
We do have a 24-hour hotline that we activated on the onset of the curfew and the virus, that people can call. So you might be anxious, you might be depressed, you may need a little counseling. Sometimes it's not only people needing material assistance, but in this time, it's tough time, and people need, somebody to speak to. They can call the hotline, and there are people on the other end, trained counselors, who can speak to them. We also activated a psychosocial committee that will assist in dealing with those cases across the tri-island state.
Okay. Well, that's actually wonderful. One of the things that we discussed yesterday as well, which I think is important to run by you, in cases where persons may be reluctant to call the hotline, but the ministry is aware of these cases, is there some way or some protocol or some procedure that can be put in place to have a routine check on these people? So persons who would have been suffering through domestic abuse, some of them may be reluctant to call. Some of them may not have the means, or that means would have been taken away from them to contact the police in the event that they are experiencing this. Is there a means or a policy or even a consideration being given for a pop-up visit by a psychologist or police?
Well, you see, once we have the information, so the person doesn't have to call, but somebody in the neighbor may believe or know that something is happening in a particular household, and they too can report, and we will act immediately. I can tell you that the Special Victims Unit, they are working overtime to ensure that we deal with all issues of domestic violence, all issues of child abuse. The Child Protection Authority too, they are working overnight, making sure that those issues are being addressed in times like these.
Well, that's reassuring, because I know there are a lot of concerned Grenadians who are worried, because everybody is now confined in one space, and we may have an upsurge.
Yeah, and so while they may have upsurge, then the truth is we need to know about it. Because if it's hidden and we have no information, then you cannot act if you have no information. And therefore, we would like to have the information by any means necessary. Sometimes the person do not feel confident, or sometimes they do not have the space because now everybody is home, and you are afraid to call because the abuser is right close to you.
Right.
And therefore you have to find a way or means in order to get help. And these days you have social media, you have WhatsApp, you can send a text without somebody knowing you send a text, seeking help in these difficult times. So we are there to help. We have a team that are trained, and we have hard-working counselors, hard-working team of the ministry. And at this point, I really, really want to commend the permanent secretary, and the senior management team, and all our workers at the Ministry of Social Development, Housing, and Community Development. They have proven themselves as hardworking, dedicated Grenadians. You know, in difficult time, in time of crisis, you know who are the hard workers, who are committed to their country, and therefore we are seeing that happening on the level, the staff of the ministry. And so I want to commend them for the hard work. I'm so proud of them and proud of what they're doing in assisting in this crisis period.
Of course, because as we were saying yesterday, it really does take all of us. It takes a lot of community spirit to get through this time, and we do have to be our neighbor's keeper. So as you rightfully said, cases do have to be reported. So it takes a neighbor, a family friend, or so on to be vigilant and
yes,
to look out.
The truth is, we have to be in this together. This is no normal time. It's no ordinary time. It's difficult time. And we have to protect ourselves, protect our families, protect our neighbors, our elderly. We have to work together. This is no time for politics. In fact, we are politicians, but we should not look to score any points using this pandemic. This pandemic is a time when we have to be working for the benefit of our people and our country, not looking for vote or any popularity contest. This is not a popularity contest period. This is a period where we're working together, and I must say that Ms. Ann John, this morning she was part of the meeting with our psychosocial introduction team to deal with the whole issue of abuse and the whole issue of counseling and all those issues. And she's from the National Democratic Congress. So we are working together with them to ensure that we do what it takes to protect our people. Right. This is time when all political organizations forget their colors and be able to work as one color. Absolutely. You know, when a nation is in crisis, you know, the patriot has to rise up together, and there's no red, and there's no yellow or green, but we have red, green, and yellow, or national colors showing up, because we are working together to ensure that we protect our trial state of Grenada, Carriacou, and PD Martinique.
Absolutely. Well, it's wonderful that so much is happening because, of course, a lot of the sectors are being affected by this virus, and a lot of people are being affected by this virus. I know a lot of the constituencies are doing hampers, but is the Ministry of Social Development in itself or in its capacity doing any outreach programs as it relates to people that are needy within the constituencies?
I did not get that question.
The Ministry of Social Development, in their capacity, I know a lot of constituencies and ministers, parliamentary representatives are doing hampers for people who are in need.
So the ministry is working in collaboration with constituencies. Remember, as parliamentary representative, we are representative of the people.
Right.
So many times you think, well, people think you are representative of only of the persons who voted for you in the last election. But we are there as policymakers. We are representative of a different constituency, and we are representative of all the people within our various constituencies. So when we have issues, we do not want to duplicate.
Right.
So the ministry is working in conjunction with those parliamentary representatives. So those assistants that you're speaking about, that's because the ministry is working in collaboration with the representative. And we making sure that what we do, there's no duplication, and that the people who really need assistance get assistance. We as a government, we have decided that though the Imani trainees are home, that we continue, even in this crisis period, we continue to pay all our workers, whether they are home or not. We continue to pay all our trainees. We continue, even as a ministry, we continue to ensure that we provide the subvention on a timely manner to all the homes. So all the home for the elderly, we provide the subvention. Child Protection Authority, Grand Backlet, we continue to pay that. We continue to pay seed on a timely manner to ensure that family now have disposable income that they can assist in taking care of their family. Right. So we have seed persons receiving their monies even though school is closed. And you know, some families got bus assistance. But though school is closed, we continue to provide these financial resources to families to ensure that they can assist themselves. And that is why we have to ensure that each case, we look at each case on a case by case basis,
Right.
so that you do not duplicate. Because
Right.
if a trainee, for example, is continuing to receive their stipend, they're no longer, right now they're not paying buses because they're not going to work, so they're home and they're receiving their stipend, then we expect them to utilize that to provide food for themselves. And that is why
Right.
in looking at and providing assistance, we are looking at households when no one is working,
Right.
where there's no disposable income,
Right.
and therefore we provide assistance in that regard.
Okay.
So we continue to pay seed to our elderly. We continue to pay the benefits to the students who are at home,
Right.
who are on the seed program. And as I said, we continue to provide in all other program. Government continue to pay all its workers who are home, and therefore they would not qualify unless it's a special case.
Right.
But they would not qualify for those assistance you're talking about, the hamper assistance. And you're also aware that government is also providing stimulus packages, assistance,
Yes.
so as to provide for those in the tourism industry and other sectors.
Right.
And we are looking at new programs. Because no program is really perfect.
Right.
And you may realize after a while that this sector of workers should be added, and this one should,
Yes.
So as time go by, government will continue to look at other ways to provide assistance for those other families who work, for example, market vendors, maybe those who did not sell, because I know that even now, and though the markets are closed, we still have the vendors selling maybe at the community level, you know.
Right.
I've been able to sell their produce in some instances during the shopping days. So we will be able to identify families who have no income at all, and therefore see how we can provide assistance to them.
All right. Well, that's wonderful. It's good to know that in a time like this, people are being attended to. And as Minister Joseph was saying in his call earlier, he said that he does not believe in posting to social media the good work that is being done. And in the same way, I don't believe that...
No, I didn't hear you so clear. For some reason, I'm hearing you very low now.
Oh, are you hearing me now?
Yes, better.
Okay. No, as I was saying, as Minister Joseph was saying in his earlier presentation, that he does not believe in using social media to front the good works that is being done, to the charitable work that's being done to needy families. And in the same way, the Ministry of Social Development, you guys are not mandated to share that information with the public, because you're not doing anybody a favor. You're actually helping people that are genuinely in need.
Well, to me, you're doing that's a responsibility to
Right.
assist those in need. In fact, it's a basic responsibility of government to provide for persons who are in need. So therefore, there's no reason why we should be showcasing persons who are vulnerable and need our assistance.
Absolutely.
I know you have heard me spoke of that from time and time in Parliament and otherwise, that I think it is vulgar. That's how I feel. To be posting families receiving hampers, vulnerable people, taking pictures of them. You know, I came from a very vulnerable family. And when I became a teenager and more self-aware, when my grandmother sent me to the neighbor to ask for assistance, I did not want the other person to hear that I'm begging for some salt or some flour or so. So I know how that feels. I know how that feels as an individual, and therefore there's no way I will showcase. And I know that as a government, we took that as a cabinet decision, that we would not showcase and we would not take no pictures providing hampers, but we will work along with the ministry to ensure that people who really need the assistance, once we assess it properly, because it's not a case where somebody just call, and because they call you rush and give. You will verify with the Ministry of Youth that this is a training that is engaged, and whether or not this person is a beneficiary from seed and getting the benefits, and different things you will look at,
Right.
and therefore make a judgment that this is a family that need assistance, and therefore you provide assistance to them. But assistance should not be in the public domain. There's no way you should showcase and say that I'm helping A, B, C, and D. To me, that's not no politics. You can't get no political points for that. And if you're getting points, it's cheap political points. This cannot give you any vote, and therefore I urge, I spoke to it with our members, and we have agreed that this is not a good thing to do, and therefore we would not do it. We will help, not looking for likes on Facebook or for people to comment on what we have done, but we'll do it genuinely, knowing that it's a responsibility of us as parliamentary representative of the different constituency.
That's wonderful. Now, on a constituency level, and that this is, I guess, for and maybe you'll be able to speak for all representatives. If there is a family, or if you know of a family, for example, yesterday I was able to identify to my parliamentary representative a few families within within the constituency that I know would be in desperate need of some food emergency assistance. And yesterday I was able to collect and deliver a couple hampers to them. Today I will be doing same. But for other constituencies, what would you recommend that people do?
Well, as I said earlier, the ministry has a hotline that you can call. Sometimes you do not feel okay to call the parliamentary representative direct, or to call somebody, the seat officer or the constituency manager also. So you can call the ministry, who will ensure, like work with the representative to ensure, to assess the situation, to make sure it's a needy situation, and then provide assistance. Because I can say for a fact that every constituency across Grenada, the 15 constituencies, assistance are being sought and being delivered on the level of the constituency.
Okay.
Different people are calling the hotline, different people are calling on behalf of other families who they think are in need, and assistance are being given to them.
Okay. I just want to verify, do you have the number for the hotline that we can share with our listeners?
Okay, I have a, okay, so yeah, I will give you before the end of the program.
Okay.
Because I do not have it on my fingertip.
No problem. But as you said, other people can call on behalf of those individuals.
And you give the names, the number, and the community, and then it will be dealt with on that basis.
That is absolutely wonderful. I'm happy to hear that. Now, I know you'd want to speak on your constituency, unless you have other things to report on.
Just to say, from the ministry standpoint, that we are doing what it takes to provide for our elderly and vulnerable families. We'll continue to working along with them. We'll continue to provide counseling support and other support, and that the ministry is committed, the staff is committed, and therefore we are there to help. We have a number of hotlines that I will give you some of the numbers before the end of the program that you can use on your program to let people know these are numbers you can call if you feel stressed, if you have a concern. You know, the police is also available, but the ministry, even the 400 from the Special Victims Unit is also available for support.
Okay.
So they can call those numbers in case of emergency, in case there's abuse, in case there any concern from any different village. You can call the hotline, and as I said, I will give you the different numbers before the end of the program.
Okay, there's one other thing I want to touch on as it relates to the ministry, and it's a question that a lot of individuals have had and have asked, and I don't think it's been answered as yet, so I'm hoping you can address, and it relates to people who would have been working with the housing projects, so housing brigades and so on. I know each constituency would have had these people. These people continue to receive.
All government workers continue to receive salaries.
Okay.
So housing brigade, seed officers, housing officers, all the staff, counselors. Well, I mean, the counselors are still working, but all government workers, from my ministry standpoint, the brigade, the housing officers, the seed officers, our clerical staff, everybody continues to receive salary at the end of the month.
Okay.
And in fact, I think this month we made up the salary earlier than normal months. Early. As soon as the first salaries were paid to our staff, we had the finance division of the ministry. They came in and worked on the salary. So daycare workers, everybody will receive salaries at the end of this month.
All right. Well, that's wonderful to hear. I know a lot of people were wondering and asking. I know the month of March had just ended, and people were wondering what would happen for April.
So the month of March, we paid salaries on time. I know some people took longer to get their salaries because we paid on the 27th, which was the Friday. However, what happened is that we had to rush to the state of emergency, and bank closed on Tuesday, which was mountain, and because of that, persons without a teller card could not access their salary. But I know that has since been dealt with, and so they receive their salaries.
All right, wonderful. Well, I'd like to give you an opportunity to speak to your constituents. I know they're waiting to hear from you. I know because a lot of them believe that because they're not hearing from their parliamentary representatives that they're in hiding. And it's been said, and I know that you guys are doing a lot of work behind the scenes,
So while some, I mean, the truth is, everybody in my constituency did not hear from me. But I've been sending messages to them. I mean, the younger people who are on social media, I have messages on a regular basis. I've sent out WhatsApp messages. I've used my phone to call at the level of the different, like elderly citizens within the constituency, and like key persons in the different villages to ensure that we have nobody falling through the crack because they need assistance and they are not receiving. So I continue to work along with the constituency. In fact, just yesterday we had a meeting on the level of the constituency looking at how we can deal with particular issues that confront people within the constituency of St. Andrew Northwest.
Okay.
Not looking at any political color of NMP or NDC, but looking at the vulnerable people within the constituency that need our assistance. And as I said, I'm not only talking about material assistance, but people who may need counseling, people who may need somebody to talk to. While in Grenada, we have no death from the coronavirus on island. Scores of Grenadians died in the U.S. and the U.K. And these are brothers of our Grenadian brothers and sisters. These are mothers. Some of them are sisters. Some of them are cousins and uncles and families in Grenada. So this is a grieving period. And therefore, we have to reach out to them also, you know, to accept our deepest sympathy in this trying time. Because it is stressful. And these are people also who we're referring the counseling unit to. Because these are people who would need counseling.
Yes.
Remember, you spoke to your mother 2 weeks ago, or your aunt went up for medical attention just about a month ago.
Yeah.
She wasn't really sick. It was just time for checkup. Yet, and then you get the dreaded news that your aunt passed away from the virus because she was sick two weeks ago. Yeah. This is no easy news for families. And therefore, we have to reach out to families as neighbors, you know, as counselors or a counseling team have to work overtime, knowing that there are many families outside there who need comfort, who need somebody to speak to. I call on even other counselors. There are counselors who are not attached to the ministry who can assist in reaching out to families in this difficult time. This is a real difficult time. This is a time that nobody prepared for. Yeah. Even scientists today, they are baffled by what they're seeing happening with this virus. And therefore, we have to work together. We have to stick together. We have to be our brother's keeper. We have to be able to reach out to our neighbors and reach out to our friends, reach out to our families, find out how they're doing in this difficult time. It is a real difficult time. And this is time you can be depressed. Your whole mental health is affected, and therefore we have to urge you to do. There are certain things you can do. One of the things I do in terms of protecting my mental health, I exercise daily. So I ensure that I, because you know it's easy to sit down and on Zoom meetings for the day and following back and forth on different issues that affect constituency and ministry and dealing with particular issue and looking at news and getting consumed yourself. And therefore you have to look at ways and means to protect your mental health. So I use exercising as one of ways in protecting my mental health. I speak to friends and elderly citizens within the constituency. I speak to my family. Then I have spent more time with my children at home. So sometimes initially, I spent a lot of time listening to the international news. And that in itself was depressing. So I realized that I have to turn off the television at times and not focus so much on that, but focus on the positive, focus on how we in Grenada can protect our people from contracting the virus, calling them to adhere to the protocol of social distancing, to staying at home, to wearing a mask and all these things, because it is no easy time at this time. As I said, this is tough period for all of us, but I believe that God is able to deliver us in this challenging period.
Of course.
And as parliamentary representative and also as minister, I really want to assure people that we are doing all in our powers to protect our vulnerable. But the truth is, we cannot do it alone. We really need all hands on deck to work with us to protect those who need our attention. We know of the number of confirmed cases we had, and I believe many of them are recovering. We heard of those who are in hospital, and we pray for them and their families that they will recover. However, we still have to encourage our people to take it seriously. Because, sometimes because it doesn't affect our family in any way, or we're not hearing about death, we get complacent. I believe that too many of our people are still not taking heed to the warnings, and they still want to, every time you get a chance, you want to run to Grenville and run to the supermarket. We still have to protect ourselves. When you look at the international news and you're hearing what is happening, we're not sure about everything. We're not sure about everything on that virus. We're not sure what is happening. We've seen people who are infected tested negative, and then weeks after testing positive. This is alarming and frightening, and therefore we have to take all preventative measures and do not get complacent. So I still urge our people to stay inside if you do not have to go outside. And if you have to go outside, cover your face with a mask, use your hand sanitizer, practice social distancing. If you have an emergency, then we know that you have to go out. If you have to go for food in the supermarket, then we urge you to do what it takes in terms of protecting yourself and your families. I still urge people within the constituency to do not congregate. The liming that we're still seeing, let's avoid those social visits. Even sometimes you see people within the village drunk. I still say let's stop those unnecessary drinking. I urge members within our constituency to let's reach out to our neighbors and let's use the technology to speak to our mother, our father, our sisters, our neighbors, and our friends. Let's encourage them. I believe that we can only win this war through discipline. And as we offer special prayer to the families who have families in overseas who lost their lives through COVID, let us continue to pray that God will deliver us in this difficult time. In this period, with this virus, as parliamentary representative of St. Andrews Northwest, I am even more committed to service. I'm even more committed to working along to deal with the issues that confront not only St. Andrews Northwest, but on the issues that confront our vulnerable families across our tri-island state. And I believe that we can work together to have a completely new St. Andrews Northwest, and by extension, a completely new Grenada. This virus can cause us to make necessary changes to our life that can impact families positively. So I urge all of us, let us soldier on in these trying times. Let us work together. Let us put away all our political colors and see how we can work together to assist families, work together to prevent the virus from spreading across our country. After that, maybe we could talk politics after that, when years from now, when the election is called, because we do not have an election now. We should not be looking for vote or using that pandemic to score any political points. And therefore, I urge us, let's continue to work together. Let us do what it takes to protect life, the life of our people.
Absolutely. Well, that was very well said, Minister. Do you have any closing remarks that you would like to make to your constituents or on behalf of your ministry?
Yeah, so just to say again, as I said in opening, as a ministry, we are committed to providing and working along with the most vulnerable families, the most vulnerable people within our Tri-Island state. We are there to help. We are there. So we are, and as I said, I will give you the numbers that can be reached
Mm-hmm.
in case that just give me, so there's for deaths for the elderly. You taking note?
Yes, I'm taking note.
Deaths for the elderly 420-3327.
Mm-hmm.
Social work 417-6091. Counseling 417-1102. Seed unit 422-6504. And then there's a general hotline number that can be that you can call it in terms of domestic and they would domestic abuse or any form of abuse. You can call 440-4787 and you tell the person, the operator, and they will direct you to the correct person to deal with the particular issue or any other issue that are social development related. You can call 440-6787 and the operator will direct your call.
All
Do
right.
you have all the numbers?
Yes, I have all the numbers, and I'll definitely be sharing those on our page, and of course, every day try to share it with others because I know this is a concern of a lot of Grenadians on what we can do to try and curb this problem in this difficult time. But thank you so much, Minister, for
Thank
taking
you so
the
much
time.
for having me, and I look forward for you to calling into your program again to address the people of Grenada and for us to be able to deal with whatever issues that confront our people in this time. But just to say to our people, let's be safe, let's protect ourselves, let's stay inside if we do not have to get outside, and do not get complacent and believe that all is well and we can just roam the street and then we are sorry after.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for the time.
Thank you too, and thank you for having me.
You too. Have a wonderful rest
Have a
of the
wonderful
day.
day to you also.
All right. Thank you.
Okay.
All right, guys, and that was our Honorable Minister Delma Thomas, Minister responsible for Social Development and Housing, giving us an update on what is happening as it relates to that ministry and, of course, the social development of our people. There are a lot of people in need in our country at this time, some more than others, but it's also very good to know that their needs are being met and it's being met in a timely manner. Of course, I want to encourage each and every single one of you, as we will be encouraging you daily, that this time calls for the unity of all. It doesn't matter what your color, it doesn't matter your creed, your nationality, your religion, it doesn't matter what political party you support. These things mean nothing at this time. All that matters is our humanity. All that matters is how we deal with each other. All that matters is the love and the support of our friends and family members. And of course, through the grace and mercies of God, we will get through this stronger than we went in. But it takes each and every single one of us to become a part of the process, to become each other's keeper. If you know that there is a shut-in in your community that needs assistance, it is your responsibility as a Grenadian, as a person, to ensure that the proper routes are taken so that person can receive some assistance. I know we like social media a lot of the time. I know that we like to post, and I know that sometimes our posts are driven by emotion. But there is always a process and always a procedure that things are being done in. And we must ensure that we are taking the necessary steps so that these things can be accomplished. Use the proper channels, proper tools that we are provided with to ensure that a lot of these processes run smoothly. So if you have elderly, shut-in people in your community, people that you know are struggling at this time, then the number to call is 420-3327. For social work, so we know we have children in the community that may at this time be experiencing acts of abuse. The number to call is 417-6091. For counseling units, people who need counseling, whether it's for domestic abuse, whether it may be for depression, whether you're struggling with the confinement, whatever it may be, there is a 24-hour hotline available for you at 440-4878, and you can also call 417-1102 for our counseling unit. And of course, for the seed program, you can contact 442-6504 for all of the information that you need. As it relates to seed payments, as the minister said, they will be releasing a list. Seed payments will be made earlier than usual, and of course, they will be made on a community level. So whether you may be asked within your community to go to a community center or a church or a school, whatever it may be, it will be done at a community level. So pay attention for that. You want to ensure that you have all of the information as it becomes available. I'm looking here for some information that we would have received from the NIS, the National Insurance Scheme. They would have provided, oh, there it is. Okay, so pensioners are advised that their NIS pension will be paid earlier than normal for the month of April. Since financial institutions will be open this week, the NIS is working to ensure that your pension is available in your account on Friday, the 17th of April, which is tomorrow. So pensioners, you know you are accustomed to receiving pension from the NIS. They are working to ensure that monies will be available on your account, all right, on the 17th, which is tomorrow. I'm hoping that I can get some further information as it relates to any numbers that you can call in the event that you have difficulty or you don't see your pension payment or whatever it may be. I'm hoping that I can get some information on that. Guys, we have to work together. So time is of the essence, but I think I can open the lines to take just a few calls. If you are available to make a call, let us know how things are going on your end. I do see some of the farmers, or vendors, I should say, have posted that they're having difficulty in getting transportation to make it to the vendors market. And if that is the case, of course, you reach out to the Ministry of Agriculture. Let's see what we can do on a community level. I mean, we have to make this thing work. You know, it's new. It wasn't designed before. There's no booklet, no pamphlet, no manual that says this is what you do in this time. Right now, we are all trying in this situation to see what is happening, to see what we can do to make it all work, to see what we can do to make everybody comfortable. All right? There are a few complainers out there who see the negative in every situation, who poke holes in every situation, who have no positive message to send, nothing to contribute to any policy to make it better. For those of you, I wish there was a way to shut you out. There is not. But in the meantime, we are appealing to the general public. Be your brother's keeper. There are farmers and vendors who are struggling with transportation. Let's see how we can help. Let's be neighborly. You know, if you can give a vendor a ride, reach out. Reach out. That's the only way we're going to get through this thing, is if we work together, is if we show what metal we are made of. All right? What matter man is made of. That is what this virus is trying to show us. That we need to be more neighborly. We need to encourage each other. We need to spend quality time with each other, quality time with ourselves. We need to slow down a little bit and appreciate the simplicities in life. These are the things that we need to take from this. I know it's a bad situation all in itself, but if you can find some positivity within this entire situation, I urge you to grab onto it. Hold on to that piece of positivity and let that drive you. It will make this situation all the more better for you and for everyone surrounding you. We are all dealing with difficult things in our lives. Let's see how we can help each other make it better. We do have a caller on the line. Good morning, caller.
Good morning.
Hi, good morning.
Yes, I've been listening to you and your encouragement. But most of all, I have listened to both ministers this morning, Minister Joseph and Minister Thomas, with the information sharing, and I think it was very good. And it's people like them that we, members of the community, of the population, right, have to listen to, get authentic information and get the information directly from the source.
Yeah.
And I understand all the concerns, and we as Grenadians, we should all be very concerned. But a number of issues were raised. But in particular, I want to speak to something, and that is in respect to relationships, people's relationships, families' relationships. And somehow I thought, because I really don't like to dwell on the negative, and somehow, and we know it happens, right? But for example, domestic violence, and that kind of thing, and abuses and what have you, and so on. And I believe that this corona or COVID-19, this pandemic, right, which is a world crisis, which is something that, I can't even find words to describe this in terms of the lives that have been lost, and even if we have not lost lives at home, but Canadians would have died overseas. We have information of that because, for example, in my community, I know 3 people who would have succumbed to the virus. What I'm saying, why don't we take time to review and to renew and to revisit our relationship? Domestic violence in this time, abuses in this time. Come on. I believe this is a golden opportunity, though, a terrible experience. But this should give us an opportunity also to relook at family relationships, to look at, to look at our lives, take a different look at our lives, and so on. And the purpose of why we are alive, why we live. And the family structure is so important. Why should one want to abuse family? Why should there be abuse in the family and in society for that matter? Yeah. So my appeal to our people is that this is a golden opportunity, not to perpetuate, not to continue domestic violence, and hatred and bitterness, but to come together, right, to renew our relationship, to strengthen our relationship, to come together as a people, and to do what we have to do. On other programs, I've heard a lot of discussions, a wide range of topics were discussed. But as always, I'm disappointed in one program. Well, I shut off the radio last night because, especially in a time like now, there's on another station called Release It, and 2 men and 1 man who was a former CEO of a prominent business here in Grenada. I've never seen anything so disappointing. And then the host was talking about certain people wanting relevance. You're talking about wanting relevance? Well, to my mind, I believe that this man thought, well, people don't know he was alive, so he wanted people to know he's alive. It's just disgusting to hear 2 big men on radio, week after week, engaging even in a time like now, But, however, my appeal to our people is that the curfew is still on. By bit, the restrictions have been relaxed as the authorities might see it necessary. But we should not take advantage of this in a foolish way. We should make good of it and don't think that we are immune. As I said previously, we have not had any death at home, but we have had Grenadians dying overseas. But we see what happened overseas.
Yeah.
Because some of us were tuned to social media, but we seem to only be influenced with the negative, with the negative. That is what we take pleasure in. That's what gives us satisfaction. So again, my people, observe the protocols that are in place, and let us respect each other. And let us not go about doing this panic shopping, as we say. The distributors, the manufacturers, and the supermarkets and other distributors of goods, groceries, they have given the assurance to the authorities that there is no shortage of food on the island.
Yeah.
The farmers also have given that commitment. So let us be civic in our behavior. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much for your contribution, caller. Of course, we did notice that some of the lines were not as long this morning in some of the food, some of the grocery stores and so on. I believe there was a very lengthy line for the credit unions and, of course, the banks. So that is something to consider. It means that a lot of people, some of which would not have had an opportunity to cash their May salaries, some of which depend on going to the banks and going to the credit unions in order to do business. So it is really a pleasure for them to have to do that this morning. We're going to take this one more call. Good morning, caller.
Good morning, my dear sweetheart. How are you do?
I'm good, Miss Jacob.
Huh?
I'm good.
You okay?
Yes, I'm good.
Yeah, man. Oh, Lord. My heart just good for my baby brother, Jamu. Oh, God, this morning I hate tune. And the thing is, oh, God, when I hear it. And I call Mommy. And Mommy tell he crying every time he saw the daddy crying. Can't go and look for him. And that thing really hurt me. I Jamu boy, take it easy. The Lord knows best. We behind you, and the Lord knows best. Oh God. Sister Duncan, can I speak to you off the air?
Yes, you can call back.
Tell me when I must talk to you.
You can call back at 12 and I'll speak to you.
Huh?
You can call back at 12 because we're running out of time right now.
Huh?
If you call back at 12,
Yeah.
I'll pick up.
Right. Okay, sweetheart.
All right? You have
Love
a
you.
wonderful day.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, baby. Bye-bye.
All right, guys, and we are coming down to the end of our program. Of course, we encourage you to review the positive things that have happened to you as a result of this virus. Maybe now you've had an opportunity to spend more time with your children. Maybe now you would have an opportunity to take up a course, to strengthen a skill, to engage in a talent that you so long wanted to explore. A lot of things can come out of this. Let's look at and feed on the positive things that have come out of this. If we choose to focus on the negative, it will only make our situation more difficult. And that's something that we don't want. It is already a difficult situation. Let's cling to the positivities that we will derive out of this and let that drive us as we hope for not only Grenada, but for the world at large, that the recovery process comes quicker than they have anticipated. Let us all work together, get through this together, and we will all emerge stronger together than we went in. It's always a pleasure speaking to you guys. In whatever you say and whatever you do, be safe, be secure. I always want to be talking with you and never about you. Please enjoy the remainder of your day.
Stay up to date with all that's happening with the new National Party, NNP. Send us a message via text or WhatsApp on 405-8683 with your name, email, and constituency. Stay in the know with NNP. Get updated.
I'm so glad to see you. You see, I've been thinking about this case between government and Grenada, and I need to better understand a few things. You see, some people say government to Grenada to court, and others say Grenada to government to court, and he say, she say. So who really took who to court?
I know it can be confusing, Suzanne, but it is simple. If you study the ruling from the court hearing which took place in Washington, it clearly says that WRB, the company that owns Grenada, took government to court.
So why Grenada decided to take government to court?
For what it's worth, government decided to change the law so that the price of electricity can be cheaper for Grenadians. I guess the company felt that they would no longer be making the fat profit if people are paying less for electricity, as when they had full control over price and everything else. So guess what? The company decided that they wanted government to take back the company. They took government to court and demanded that the people of Grenada must buy back the company and pay them a sizable amount too. But you know what? They could only have done this because of the contract that the NDC government signed in 1994, that if any government passed any law to make the price of electricity cheaper, the state had to buy back the shares.
Interesting. You see, that's why I always trust you to explain these things, making it simple for me to understand.
So what WRB wants government to do is to buy back all the shares that the NDC government sold them in 1994. The contract they signed with the NDC government then does not allow any competition, which is why our rates are so high. And what is worse, the then government agreed with them that if government had to buy back the shares, the price would have to be a lot more than it is worth, and the company must decide the selling price.
Pure manje popo. That was a real giveaway, man.
You hit the nail on the head, Suzanne. Government has no choice based on the court ruling. The court said that Grenada has to pay this foreign-based company based on the contract the NDC government signed in 1994. But guess what? Even if the NDC administration signed this bad deal, I'm happy that the NNP administration is prepared to pay up. And credit must be given to them that just a few days after the court ruled, government has already announced that our electricity bill will be reduced by 30% for the next 3 months because of COVID-19. My dear, all things work together for good.
I can't agree with you more. I fully agree.
I think government should just pay Grenlag their money based on what the court says. And let's keep moving on to cheaper electricity costs. Remember, we have the highest electricity rates in the region.
Fishermen and farmers being allowed to sell on shopping days. Details to this story and more in the National Report. Welcome back with the details to the news for Wednesday, April 15th, 2020. I am Sherry Ann Noel. Fishermen will not be permitted to sell fish directly to members of the public, but sale will be done through licensed fish vendors. That announcement by the Royal Grenada Police Force on Wednesday during the regular COVID-19 briefs. Superintendent of Police Vannie Kerwin outlined the regulations for farmers and fishermen as they are exempted from the mandatory curfew for Thursday, Friday and Saturday to be allowed to do business.
Only small boats will be allowed to engage in fishing with 2 persons per boat. With regards to seine or net fishing, 12 persons are permitted to manage the net, with 3 being positioned on each side. Provisions are not currently made for the larger type fishing trawlers, but this will be taken into consideration and a subsequent announcement will be made. Fishermen are not permitted to sell the catch directly to the public to prevent the potential for crowding and violation of the physical distance protocol. All sales will be made to licensed vendors who will package the produce in 2, 5, and 10-pound bags for sale to the public.
6 farmers' markets have also been established in each parish: National Athletic Stadium Car Park, Victoria Vegetable Market, Gore Vegetable Market, Natural Works St. David, Sater's Bus Terminal, and Grenville Bus Terminal. Pidi Martinique at Emma's Supermarket and MNIB in Carriacou will be stocked with supplies for residents on the island.
A maximum of 2 persons will be allowed per vending station in keeping with the physical distancing protocol. 2, mask or other type of face covering must be worn at all times. 3, frequent hand washing or the use of hand sanitizer is strictly required. 4, a vending station may be established with small tents or at the back of a pickup where feasible. 5, farmers and vendors should have a minimum of 700 pounds of fresh produce. 6, fresh produce should be prepackaged in bundles valued at $5, $10, and $20. Farmers are expected to set up between the hours of 6 a.m. and 8 a.m.
Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Agriculture, Elvis Moraine, is happy with the move to give farmers and fishermen the opportunity to earn a livelihood during this period. He said the ministry will provide support to individuals at the farmers' market.
We are happy to provide an avenue for them to really serve the public fresh produce. And we know this is twofold because, of course, at this time, we are advised to consume, as much fresh produce as possible. We also will provide some tents because we didn't have that in the mix, but of course the condition is terrible out there. So we'll be providing some tents at location that would help, to ease the burden of persons, being there. And I just want to encourage again persons to behave in a very orderly manner and to understand that this arrangement may not be perfect, but of course, as time goes on, we are looking at 3 days, so therefore we can improve things as we go along.
Moving along, the Finance Committee of the House of Representatives met Tuesday to discuss the economic stimulus package announced by the government in response to the impact of COVID-19. Prime Minister and Minister of Finance, Dr. the Right Honorable Keith Mitchell, presented the package to the committee, which comprises all members of the House of Representatives. Dr. Mitchell's presentation also included the macroeconomic context in which the stimulus package will be rolled out and any issues relevant to the fiscal expenditure rules. The Prime Minister has confirmed that there was general consensus on his presentation with minor adjustments. Dr. Mitchell says the funds projected to be spent under the stimulus package is more than what was appropriated under the contingency fund for the year 2020. Hence, the steps being taken towards obtaining parliamentary approval. The next step in the process will be for the package to be presented in Parliament, and the next sitting has been scheduled for Friday, April 17, 2020. The Prime Minister has reassured Grenadians that contrary to some claims being made in the public domain, no parliamentary rules have been broken. Among the measures outlined in the economic stimulus package are payroll support for hoteliers, restaurants and bars, and small travel agents, and income support for public buses, taxi drivers, tourist vendors, and others qualifying hospitality-based businesses. Dr. Mitchell has indicated that the Ministry of Finance will honor these payments by the end of this month. President of the Principals Association, Dominic Jeremiah, says principals, teachers, students who adjusted to the new method of virtual learning and teaching must be commended for the achievements made in quick time. In a telephone interview with the Government Information Service on Wednesday, he did indicate, however, that reports he has received varies from one institution to another.
The important thing is that, from what I picked up, that principals and teachers were extremely creative. And I think the reason why they were very creative is because they had the interests of their students at heart. They wanted to ensure that during this period that everything was done to try to provide for the ongoing education of the children in our schools.
Transitioning from face-to-face teacher-student interaction to online teaching involves more than uploading, marking, and returning grades. Mr. Jeremiah says equally, parents need to be on board.
The work that is uploaded to the student is meaningful work and not just work to keep them busy. So we want to make sure that we don't overload them, but that the pedagogy that we are using to function in this new dispensation is one that would benefit the student in a very meaningful way. So teachers will continue to need a lot of support in learning how to function in this new environment. The students themselves will have to be supported, not only by the teachers and by the schools, but that parents have to take greater responsibility to ensure that the students are in fact doing what they are supposed to be doing.
He says it is commendable that teachers, students, and some parents are maximizing the opportunity presented through virtual teaching and learning. This is the National Report. More news after the break.
Protect yourself and our community from COVID-19. Wash your hands frequently with soap and water for at least 20 seconds. If soap and water are not available, use an alcohol-based hand sanitizer with at least 70% alcohol. Use a tissue when blowing your nose, sneezing, or coughing. Immediately discard the tissue properly and wash or sanitize your hands. Avoid close contact with people who are sick. Let's do our part to ensure that each and every Grenadian remains healthy. To stay up to date, visit the Government of Grenada's webpage or the Ministry of Health's Facebook page. For more information, contact the Ministry of Health's hotline by calling 53-VIRUS. This has been a public service announcement brought to you by the Ministry of Health.
Moving along, Grenada continues to boost and implement strategies in its fight against the global pandemic, the novel coronavirus. A fight, according to Prime Minister Dr. The Right Honorable Keith Mitchell, that requires an all-hands-on-deck approach, since government imposed the mandatory curfew following the limited state of emergency. Various regulations and strategies have been implemented to cushion the effects of COVID-19. One such strategy is the establishment of a central coordinated mechanism. This incorporates the forces and expertise of NADMA, the RGPF, and the Ministry of Health. Acting Commissioner of Police Edwin Martin says it will be led by COVID-19 Coordinator Dr. George Mitchell.
We have now activated a cabinet-approved committee called a Central Coordinating Mechanism, which is based at NADMA. So now we have integrated into NADMA and utilizing the NADMA construct a central coordinating mechanism for which all of the activities that are taking place related to COVID-19 will be routed through. That committee is headed by our COVID-19 lead, Dr. Mitchell, supported by myself.
An emergency operations center will also be established to assist in the fight against the virus.
We have also created an emergency operation center within that construct that constitute with lead and senior persons from all of the different agencies and departments that is critical in the fight against COVID-19. Much effort has been put into implementing this, and we will have press brief to inform the public exactly how this will be implemented. But generally, from a law enforcement point of view, I think we are doing well, and I want to continue to encourage and appeal for public cooperation as we look to reverse the trend of COVID-19 in Grenada and hopefully to be able to boast, as a matter of fact, that Grenada is turning the tide by the action we are taking.
And with this, we come to the end of the National Report for Wednesday, April 15th, 2020. On behalf of the entire news and production team, I am Sherry and Noel, thanking you for viewing.
Stay up to date with all that's happening with the new National Party, NNP. Send us a message via text or WhatsApp on 405-8683 with your name, email, and constituency. Stay in the know with NNP. Get updated.